It's tough acts to follow. So last night I was rehearsing and I had my wife shine a flashlight in my eye. Why? That was a true story. It was really bright. It was starting to give me like this ocular migraine. I was like, there's no way the lights are going to be that bright. They're that bright, actually. So in the summer of 1987, the summer before ninth grade, I decided to make the move from being a skateboarder to being a punk. I mean, I like skating enough, and I had a solid crew, but I was starting to realize that skateboarding was really, it's for kids, right? I mean, you roll around on wheels and you did tricks, and in the interest of doing such tricks, sometimes you broke the law, but it was really like, middle school rebel stuff. Like we'd, climb a fence, or flout the no skateboarding sign, or, occasionally we would run from the cops, but it was like really junior varsity level stuff. So the high school punks, however, some of whom still skated, they were varsity league. They went to punk shows, they formed bands, they drank, they did drugs. I'm pretty sure they had sex. I wanted that. I didn't want to be some kid doing rad tricks on his skateboard, right? I wanted to roll with the big boys. So that summer I set out to overhaul my look. I was like, ditch the JV skate thing. I'm gonna try out for varsity punk. So the year before we had moved, and my new neighbor Dunlap was one of these high school punks. And I'd see him skating in his driveway, and over the course of the year, we'd become friendly. Mark Dunlap as we all called him, was 3 years older than me, but he seemed infinitely cooler and older and way more fucked up than any 16-year-old I knew. He smoked openly, he smoked weed, and he would have these screaming fights with his parents, like in the street. Tall, lanky, like hair in a straight bowl cut, leather jacket. Dunlap was Joey fucking Ramone, filtered through a Pennsylvania military family. I think like his dad was like a retired lieutenant colonel or something. Anyway, earlier that summer, Dunlap had sold me his old skateboard, me, like this 13-year-old kid straight out of middle school. And, I couldn't believe it. And by the transitive property of that skateboard, I could skate with him. So one Saturday morning in August, I see Dunlap skating in his driveway, so I skate over. And as I approach, I call out, "Hey, man, you ready for school to start?" And so I'm trying, right? I said try out for varsity punk. I didn't say get. And Dunlap is in the middle of trying to land an ollie. He's like, "Oh, fuck that shit. Yeah, I guess so." And Dunlap was a terrible skater, and I was pretty bad too, but it didn't really matter. None of us cared. And my block didn't have sidewalks, so Dunlap and I were left to skate up and down the street trying to land our tricks. And at the end of his driveway, he had this boom box, and it was blasting, and it was like The Exploited, this anarchist British punk band. It was just like gobbing from its tinny speakers, and he and I are skating, and as we're skating, he says, how's my old skateboard working out for you? And I'm like, it's great, I love it, thanks. And then he says, since you bought my old skateboard, you want to buy my boots? It's like, so Dunlap wore these distinctive pair of bright blue 8-eyelet Doc Marten boots. And I mean, in 1987 in my town in Pennsylvania, hardly anyone had Doc Martens, never mind blue Doc Martens. I mean, they were punk as shit, It's like, what? Yeah, as a side note, this was the first of many sales transactions that Dunlap and I would have. And it wasn't until he went to rehab later I realized why he was selling me all his old records and shirts. Like, anyway, Dunlap asked me if I wanted to buy his boots, and I did not hesitate. I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll buy them. I'm repressing my joy at owning a pair, my very first pair of Doc Marten boots. How much do you want for them? Oh, no, like $40. What size shoe do you wear? I wear a size 8. What size are the boots? Oh, it's too bad. They're like a size 10. I cut them off. Yeah, I'll take them. I'll wear extra socks, right? Extra socks? Really? Yeah, absolutely. All right. So he shrugged, and so we kept skating. Skated until the music died on the boombox, right? Like the song Punk's Not Dead, like warbled and then like faded. And Dunlap, swore. He's like, God damn it, fucking batteries. And he stormed into his house, and I kept skating in his driveway. He comes back out, new batteries in the boombox, presses play. The exploited revs up again, right? Sweet. And we've been out there like a half hour, and Dunlap has not landed one ollie. He's kicking the boards into his shins. He slips, and the board shoots across the street. And, and the volley, and every time he misses an ollie, it elicits like a God damn it or a fuck. And his volume is just a clear indicator of how little he cares if he's overheard. It's like so punk rock. And I, on the other hand, I'm swearing under my breath, like his echo, making sure that no adults in the area can hear what I'm saying. And so we're skating around a little bit. I think my trucks are too loose. I think that's the problem. Okay. So we go up to his house, to his garage, and we get a ratchet set, and we flip his board over, and Dunlap and I huddle over his deck. It's the boys' version of men standing over the open hood of a car. We certainly felt like men. We're using tools, right? Suddenly, I hear this blistering stream of profanities explode inside his house. It's his mom. And Dunlap starts laughing. Oh, shit. And I look at him wild-eyed. What is happening? And I can hear the curse words just billowing from his mother. And we both hear her drawing closer, and every door slam in his house punctuates an unsuccessful hunt for Dunlap. Dude, why is your mom so pissed? He can barely get the words out of his mouth before he's like doubled over in laughter. The batteries for the boombox. I stole the batteries from her dildo. I can hear the swears getting closer. So at this point, I'm kind of panicked by the intensity of the profanities. I've never heard my parents swear in English or Vietnamese, and now here comes Mrs. Dunlap riding a locomotive of God damn it and fucks and is barreling right for us. And I kind of freak out and I blurt, "What's a dildo?" I didn't know. Given the outrage that Mrs. Dunlap is experiencing in the moment, I surmise that it is something very, very valuable and battery operated. So my question sends waves of laughter through Dunlap, and I can see he's laughing at me now, and this sliver of embarrassment kind of needles me. A dildo. A dildo? No, I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question, right? Oh, God, I hate it when people said, when you asked a question you didn't know. A dildo. A vibrator. Vibrator? Vibrator did not make it any clearer to me. At this point, I'm thinking it's something food-related. But then I realized I'm just sound associating with the word dill. And then I think it must be like a kitchen appliance, like some sort of cooking thing, right? Like, did a dildo make bread, right? Did it chop something? A dildo, she fucks herself with it. I'd never heard, I'd never heard the word dildo in my life. And now in the span of about 60 seconds, I'd heard it like a half a dozen times. But it still didn't mean anything to me. I mean, I didn't even know what it looked like, right? So I kind of whisper it to myself, thinking that it's like gonna jog my memory. Dildo. Dildo. And then, right? And then my adolescent hormonal imagination starts rising. This image of Mrs. Dunlap fucking herself with a thing. And apparently this thing is called a dildo. Dunlap nudges me. Hey, you should probably go. And I hastily agree. Yeah, right, yeah. I will give you that $40 tomorrow. Yeah, good luck. Later, man. So I get on my skateboard. I skate away past my house around the corner. And as I'm skating away, I'm reviewing the two things, like the only two things that I've learned about a dildo. One, it's battery operated. And two, you fuck yourself with it. It's like, what the hell does that even look like? I get home, you know, I go in the side door, I see my dad who's getting ready to mow the yard. You know. Hey, Phuc, will you take the dog for a walk? And for a second, I think I could ask my dad what a dildo is. Hey, Dad, yeah, I can take the dog for a walk. And then I reconsider asking my dad about the dildo. You know, I figure, if I don't know what a dildo is, there is no way my dad knows what a dildo is, right? He could not. I mean, this is the guy who still couldn't pronounce the word street and world correctly. I mean, he couldn't know what a dildo was. Oh, God, could he? Right? Anyway. Dad, hold on a second. I'll walk the dog in a minute. I go into the kitchen where we keep our red Merriam-Webster's collegiate dictionary, abridged. I flip it open to the D's. No dildo. So I take our dog for a walk. You know, I'm super distracted. I'm thinking about what a battery-operated dildo looks like, what it does. Why is it also called a vibrator? Who could I ask about this? No one. Certainly not my friends, especially if Dunlap's laughter was any indication of how my ignorance would be met. Apparently, there was a window of time for learning about dildos, and I had missed it. You know, I thought about conversations that like normal American families had, right? I mean, parents probably sat their kids down, they gave them the talk, right? The birds, the bees, drugs, dildos. I'd missed it. I'd missed the talk, and I chalked it up to another immigrant failing that I would just have to overcome. I was used to that. So I round the corner and I put our dog in the pen. And as I go into the side door of the house, there on the welcome mat are Dunlap's bright blue 8-eyelet Doc Martens waiting for me. And you know, I pick him up and I'm smiling as wide as I can smile. And as I carry him into the house, you know, the mystery of dildos and vibrators fade away. There's a bigger world for me out there in high school, and I had a new pair of boots to grow into. Thanks.